Hi there. This is going to be one of the most important videos that you've seen regarding your trigonometry. It's one you're probably going to have to come back to at some point to review the essentials of the trig that we're doing. Last time we were together, we measured triangles, we found ratios. I did the crane problem with you and we found the height of the crane when we only knew one distance. And so today we're going to be solving right triangles. And so this is G5 number 2 using our trig ratios, and our trig ratios were opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and opposite over adjacent. All right, so let's look through our notes. The first couple are fill in the blanks. We use trigonometric relations to find missing side lengths in a right triangle when only given one side and one angle. So what that means is we know this is 60 and we know this might be 15. And that's all we know. And so we can then figure out everything else. And that leads us to number 2. To solve a right triangle, you're going to hear me say a lot, solve the right triangle. What that means is we need to find all the missing lengths and all the missing measurements. So, missing side measurements. So we need to find all the measures of all 3 angles and the lengths of all 3 sides. Okay? So that's number 2. Number 3, we start filling in some charts here. In our last 2 classes, we found ratios of side lengths for different identifying angles. And here's what we did. Okay? This is an example from that chart we had over on that board that you can't see right now, but we made that big chart in class by measuring the triangles. That we found that with a 40-degree angle, the ratio, if we took the opposite side length and divided it by the adjacent, sorry, that should be hypotenuse. If we took the opposite side, measured it, and divided it by the length of the hypotenuse, I don't care what size triangle it is, this is the rule we found, that for a 40-degree angle, the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse side, the ratio is 0.64. And when we measure the adjacent side, remember the adjacent side, if you look up here, if this is our identifying angle, this is adjacent, this is opposite. Adjacent over hypotenuse, here's the ratio, 0.77. And if we took the opposite side length and divided it by the adjacent, opposite divided by adjacent, this one's adjacent divided by hypotenuse. Opposite divided by hypotenuse. Those are the 3 different ratios that we have. And we found that these ratios happened, these measurements. In trig, we give them names. The Greeks gave them names, and those are the ones that we're going to use. So filling in your chart underneath, opposite over hypotenuse is sine. Adjacent over hypotenuse is cosine. That's it spelled out on your calculator. You'll see the COS. And 0.84 for opposite divided by adjacent is our tangent. TAN. It's our tangent ratio. Okay? So, if you went to your calculator, whether it be a graphing calculator or some type of scientific calculator, and you put in sine, and it would come up like this. You hit the sine button, and you put in 40 for the 40-degree angle, the sine of a 40-degree angle, and then hit enter, you're going to get 0.64 blah, 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 blah. That's the ratio. That's always there. That ratio is always there, and it's built into the calculator. When I was younger, we didn't have the calculators, and we had to have a big chart like the one we did on the board the other day. So these give us our information for sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, let's get through the teaching problem. I'm probably only going to get through part of number 1, and I'm going to have to do a second video. So teaching problem number 1. When given a leg, find the other leg. Here is what's given. And I ask you to draw the triangle that I've written. You've got some space over on the right-hand side of your paper in this section. So draw that. We're going to solve this triangle. What it means to solve it, we're going to find the length of the hypotenuse and the length of this side and the length of this angle. Okay? So the first step is kind of the easiest one. If this is 50, what's the measurement of this? These two angles add up to 90. So that's going to be 40. So right away, we've got all the angle measurements, 90, 50, 40. There's the easy part. Now we got to find the side lengths, okay? So find the measurement of the non-given angle. So this is going to equal x, and we'll call the hypotenuse y. So the non-given angle, put your pencil on it, that's this side right here. Then it says, which angle is the opposite angle of this leg? We're trying to find this. Which is the angle opposite 40 degrees, right there. Okay? So that we're using this as our identifying angle. That's going to be important. Sometimes I even put a little mark in like that. So, this is the identifying angle. Now let's fill in the equation. Okay? So we're dealing with opposite. This is the opposite side. We know the adjacent side. Which ratio deals with opposite and adjacent? You can look above in your notes that I just erased, but you still have them on your paper. Opposite and adjacent, that's your tangent ratio. Tangent. So the ratio is opposite over adjacent. What's the value of our opposite? We don't know. That's our x. What's the value of our adjacent? Well, here's our identifying angle. Here's our adjacent side, 8. And that's going to equal what? It's going to equal the tangent of 40 degrees. The tangent of 40, opposite over adjacent, equals the tangent. That's the ratio. Solve for x. Multiply both sides by 8. So we're going to say that x is equal to 8 times tan 40. With your calculator, punch in 8 times tan. It'll come up like that. So put in the 40, then hit equal. And x is going to equal 6.71. So that will tell you that x is equal to 6.71. That is the length of this side. That is the length of this side. One way that you could find then the hypotenuse is use Pythagorean theorem. 8 squared plus 6.71 squared will equal that, and we root it. Okay? I'm going to have a second video shortly, or posted, that will do the rest of this.